If you're sexually active or you ever plan on being sexually active, watch this because my mind's blown. Have you ever been exposed to something sex related and your genitals respond? Like, depending on what genitals you have, you get wet or hard, but it wasn't appealing to you. You're like, why am I wet from that? Or the opposite, you are really turned on and your genitals aren't cooperating, like you're not getting wet or hard when you are turned on. Your body can even orgasm without you experiencing desire or pleasure. These are actually all signs of a normal, completely functioning, healthy body. It's called arousal non-concordance, and every body does it. This is not new science or a sign of a sexual dysfunction. Mainstream culture has just literally fed us the lie that what our genitals are doing is an indicator of what we want or like. It's not necessarily the case. Okay, I'm gonna explain. There's genital response, and there's you in your brain. Genital response, like getting wet, getting hard, is the automatic and trained response to something that's simply sex-related, not necessarily sexually appealing. So throughout your life, your brain registers, that's sex-related, whether that's sexually appealing or not. So your genitals could respond to something even disgusting or obscene, but it's simply sex-related. Your genital response has nothing to do with what actually appeals to you. To quote my fave girl, Emily Nagoski, at most, blood flow to the genitals often, not always, is simply information about whether a person has been exposed to something that their brain interpreted as sex-related, with no information about whether they wanted it. The metaphor that Nagoski uses is really helpful, so I'm just going to use that. So imagine your brain and your genitals are walking down the street looking for a restaurant to eat at. Your genitals, all they know is what a restaurant is, not whether you like that food or not. So your genitals are like, that's a restaurant, that's a restaurant, that's a restaurant, even a pet store. They notice there's food in there, that must be a restaurant, while your brain goes, no, I don't like that, no, I'm allergic to that, no, that's not human food. Does that make sense? So because a lot of people don't understand non-concordance, in a lot of sexual assault cases, people will say that the vulva haver was wet or even orgasmed as evidence that she liked it or consented to it, and it's not at all the case. It's simply a conditioned reflex. So yes, you could be actively being raped and obviously hate it, but since penis and vagina is simply sex-related, you might orgasm because it's a physiological conditioned response. So, if your genital response, or lack thereof, is contradictory to how you actually feel in your experience, your body's functioning perfectly normally. In part 2, I'm going to talk about how non-concordance is different for men versus women and why our culture hides this fact so much.